Happy May the 4th, everyone. To celebrate Star Wars Day, I'm going to answer the question that I get asked about Star Wars the most. What is the best order in which to watch all the movies? Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
It's a me,
Dario!
Woohoo! Let's go!
Alright, so hopefully this week will be a return to normal for me. I have a lot of big plans for this week. For starters, tomorrow, I have it planned for tomorrow. My kid brother's going to join me and we're going to rank all the Star Wars movies. So this is not going to be ranking. I'm just going to tell you what's probably the best order to watch it in case you're dealing with somebody who's never watched them before. I'll try my best to avoid spoilers, by the way. It's rough because in order to make certain things make sense, I may have to hint at some stuff, but I will try my best to avoid any spoilers, all right? So that way anybody can listen to this. But I mean, by this point, if you haven't seen Star Wars, what's wrong with you? But I'm assuming, a lot of people have kids or something, and they haven't seen the movie, so what's the best order for them? What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So my kid brother, supposedly tomorrow, we're going to be doing a rankings of the Star Wars movies. And I need to tell you this beforehand. First off, I say we have it planned, but this kid's schedule is a mess. Like, I stayed down at my parents' house over the weekend. That's where he's staying. And every single day he went to bed at like 4 or 5 a.m. because he's really into a MMO right now. So I don't know if he's going to be awake. I don't know if he's actually going to do it or not. But supposedly it's on the books. Tomorrow we're going to do those rankings. And if you think I have crazy thoughts on stuff, wait till you hear this idiot's take on Star Wars. It's something. There's a reason why. I could just do the rankings right now really easily. But no, I think it would be, let's say, more interesting to have him there and have him judge it. So that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. On Wednesday, supposedly again on the books, I'm going to be beginning the interviews with the police detective I talked about a few episodes back. I'm not going to be airing those immediately. I'll probably do the whole, because it's a long story. So we'll probably record everything and then I'll break that up into parts and I'll maybe release it next week. Maybe one every. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I need to figure out first off, I need to record it. After record it, then I'll decide what I'm going to do with that. But yeah, that's Wednesday. So I'm also planning on doing another Spanish episode for this Saturday. Again, return to normal. This is return to normal, return to the original plans that I had for the podcast, return to doing more of the same stuff. And this return to normal because I feel like my energy levels are back to what they were before. I don't know why. Very weirdly, I took like a really weird dip on my energy level. I don't know if it's because I got sick or something, but I'm feeling like myself again. So as long as I feel like myself again, I'm going to keep going. So before I forget, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram or at SuperDario_World. Also follow my Facebook page, Super Dario World. I update everything there. And so, all right, let's begin. Let's start here with what's the best order to watch all the Star Wars movies. And I need to clarify this. There's an easy answer for this. The best way to watch them would be just to order of release date, right? Just watch them in the order they were released. That's the safe bet. It's easy. That's no fun. All right, there's a lot funner ways to watching them, and there's a million theories out there, but this is the way that I would do it. Also, a big warning: do not watch them in chronological order. Meaning, don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't do that because if you do it that way, you will be ruining. There will be a massive spoiler for one of the biggest reveals in film history. So definitely no bueno. Bad idea unless you really don't care about spoiling stuff for your kids, and I just don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. So here's what I would do, how I would do it. Unfortunately, you have to, and I mean you have to, this is probably not the best point story-wise, but you have to start with Episode 4, A New Hope, which is the first one that came out in release date, right? It's the fourth one chronologically, but it's the first one that was released. Now, you have to start with the original. I get it. And unfortunately, I would prefer to start with another movie, but unfortunately, the effects for Star Wars did not age as well as the effects for other sci-fi fantasy stuff. And so going back on effects is a really bad idea, especially for kids. Like, you can't see the crappy effects, and that lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader is horrific. It's brutal to watch. I know there have been some fan remakes that are actually pretty cool, but that one in particular is really hard to watch after the fact. After you've seen what they can do with lightsabers, that one's really hard to watch. So you can't start off with an amazing kick-ass lightsaber duel and then go to that. It's people are just not going to take it. It's going to be pretty bad. So you start off with A New Hope because, again, it introduces the best characters. It's a great start off for it. It actually gets you hooked. It gets you you care about the story. You care about the characters. You care about the villains, the good guys, the bad guys. You follow the hero's journey almost to a T. And the effects, they did not age well, but fortunately the story is good enough and the characters are good enough that they'll probably forgive them. It's forgivable that the effects are not as great, and they'll enjoy the story because, again, the story and the characters are just that likable and that interesting. So you start off with A New Hope. Then you continue with Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. So after this point is where things get interesting. Because after the ending of Empire Strikes Back, this is where things go really badly for our heroes. It's a very dark ending, and you have a big reveal. Then it's shocking. It's a massive cliffhanger. So after that cliffhanger, you kind of have to leave them waiting. You have to kind of leave them wanting more, and you want them to come back. So from Episode 5, I would go to Episode 1. Because after the big reveal of Episode 5, you go and see how is it that all those things came to be and the story of the characters that are part of that big reveal. So I'd go from Episode 5 all the way down to Episode 1. Also, by this point, they're going to be hooked. After watching Empire Strikes Back, they're going to be hooked in the story, and they will suffer through the prequels, per se. Now, I know some people like the prequels, especially kids, but let's say most people don't. So it'll be you'll have an incentive for them to come back, right? Does that make any sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So you go from Episode 5 to Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and then you continue on to Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and here is where things get interesting. For those of you who don't know, there's a whole bunch of TV shows out there that are about Star Wars. And in this particular timeline, there's a lot of interesting stuff that happens. There's Star Wars The Clone Wars, the movie. There's Star Wars The Clone Wars, the animated series, which actually today they released the final episode of the series. They closed the series. Season 7 ended today. So that's how I'm planning on spending the rest of the day. And if I finish it by tomorrow, I will give you a review of Season 7. I don't think I'll finish it today. I'll probably end up doing the review by Wednesday, but I'll do my best to finish it as soon as... Well, actually, tomorrow I'm going to be talking Star Wars with my kid brother anyway, so I'll try to hurry it up, but I'll probably expect it by Wednesday. Anyway, so you got those two. Honestly, those two, I'd say the movie is more important because they introduce a character that's relevant later, but I'd watch them both because from what I hear, there's rumors of a particular character that will be involved in something else, and I'll probably get into that a little bit later on. But the one that you definitely have to watch, and I mean definitely have to watch, is Star Wars Clone Wars, the Cartoon Network miniseries. Now okay, I know it's confusing. It's Star Wars The Clone Wars, the movie, Star Wars The Clone Wars, the animated, the TV series, and there's Star Wars Clone Wars, the cartoon miniseries. Star Wars The Clone Wars, Star Wars Clone Wars, the miniseries, it's probably the greatest thing they've ever done animated-wise. In fact, it's not probably. It's the best thing they've ever done animated-wise. It's like 20 little chapters, about 3 to 5 minutes each, and it's mini stories of the Clone Wars. It's phenomenal. They introduce Grievous there. Honestly, forget about the other ones. They introduce the character of Grievous. And it ends exactly the way that Episode 3 begins. So honestly, Episode 3, if you didn't see the miniseries, it's a little confusing. So I highly recommend you watch the miniseries. You can find it on YouTube. Star Wars Clone Wars miniseries. You can find it right there. It is honestly a must watch. I highly recommend that miniseries. So after that, since that miniseries ends exactly the way Revenge of the Sith begins. Oh, by the way, here's a fun little thing. If you're gonna watch Star Wars The Clone Wars the movie, Star Wars The Clone Wars the series, and Star Wars Clone Wars the miniseries, you need to watch it in this particular order. You watch Star Wars Clone Wars, the miniseries, until the moment they introduce Grievous, maybe a couple episodes more. Then you go into the Clone Wars movie. Then you go into the animated series. And then you finish out the Clone Wars miniseries. I know, it's a lot. Like I said, if you want to just skip them and just go straight into the Clone Wars miniseries, do it. Or just go straight into Revenge of the Sith. It'll just be, let's say, a little confusing. But that's what I would do. Anyway, then you go into Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and you close out that. This is the first trilogy you close out, right? You completely finished out that block, that storyline. It's out of there. Then where do you go? Here is another curveball. Here is where you go into Solo. Now, ideally, you would just eliminate Solo from this whole scenario. You just get it out of here because it's I'll give you my thoughts on it later on in the rankings. But let's just say it's no bueno. And however, at this point, first off, you're extending the cliffhanger. You're getting people being like, "Oh man, I want to know what happens. I want to know what happens." But you're getting to see the backstory of one of the characters that's in peril for the next one, which could be enjoyable. At this point, if you want, you can, and also you followed up what is relatively a good movie. Revenge of the Sith is the best one of the trilogy, so you're going from up to down. It makes it a little bit more tolerable. And afterwards, if you want, you can watch Star Wars Rebels because there's a bunch of characters that are part one or the other. It's honestly, it's an okay series. It's whatever, but it'll make you care about the Rebels at least a little bit, which is important and is one of the things that's kind of been missing of the Star Wars movies so far. You don't really care that much about the Rebels. This one actually brings you a little bit more into the fold. After that, you continue with Rogue One. So at this point, you care about the Rebels, right? You know them a little bit. You've been following them a little bit so far. And Rogue One is, honestly, it's an epic movie. And here's the kicker. The ending reminds you why the Empire is so terrifying. And it shows you how terrifying Darth Vader can be. So you've grown to care a little bit about the Rebels. You get a little bit of tragedy, and you see just how terrifying the enemy is, how truly terrifying they can be, and that's when you move into Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. So you got fresh in your head. It's fresh in your head just how scary these dudes are, how powerful they are, and you've grown to care a little bit more about the other characters, and you come back with your original friends. You're like, okay, you're like, oh my god, what are my dudes facing? Like, what are Luke, Leia, and Lando gonna do here? What's everybody gonna do here? They're facing that monster. So it raises the stakes. That's what I'm saying. It makes things a lot more, let's say, interesting. So after Return of the Jedi, you close out that particular trilogy, finish it off, close it off, and that's when you move into, if you want, again, this is optional, Star Wars Resistance, which is another TV show which actually chronicles like the discovery of the First Order, and you get to see some characters like Poe Dameron, you get to see some characters like Captain Phasma a little bit, and so that it adds a little bit extra, and it shows you some of the characters that you will be seeing in the future. But again, watch it, don't watch it, doesn't matter. It's the same thing as Rebels or the Clone Wars. You can watch, you can take it or leave them, doesn't matter. From there, you go into Episode 7, The Force Awakens, and very easily you continue on to Episode 8, The Last Jedi. After The Last Jedi, you probably want to kill yourself, and so you will continue on to The Mandalorian, which will be, it's, if you remember kind of how The Last Jedi ends, and you see The Mandalorian, you can start to see certain, not necessarily parallels, but you can be like, oh, okay, I guess this kind of makes sense in a weird way, even though it doesn't. But you go from watching something that was really bad to watching something that's actually pretty good, and it's a Western, and it's fun. And so it's a nice palate cleanser, really. It'll make you be interested in that world once more. And from what I hear, rumors are in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, a particular character from the Clone Wars may make an appearance, may not. I don't know. Like, I haven't finished the Clone Wars yet. I'm finishing it today, but the rumor has it. I'm going to leave it at that. And finally, you close off the series with The Rise of Skywalker. So, to reiterate, You start off with episode 4, New Hope, continue with episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. You leave them with a cliffhanger, and you go back to see the backstory in episode 1, Phantom Menace, episode 2, Attack of the Clones. If you want to, it's optional. You can insert there Star Wars Clone Wars, but you should definitely insert Star Wars Clone Wars, the Cartoon Network miniseries that you can find on YouTube. I cannot recommend that enough. You follow that up with episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, close out that saga. Then you take a slight leap forward in Solo so that you can see how big the actual betrayal was, because these dudes were semi-homies and stuff like that. Then you continue with Star Wars Rebels so that you care a little bit about, again, optional, so that you care a little bit about the Rebels. You continue with Rogue One so you see a story of the actual Rebels. You see a tragedy take place, and you see how terrifying the Empire, and particularly Darth Vader, is, just as our heroes are about to face them once more. All right? Then you continue with Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, close out that saga, and optional, you can watch Star Wars Resistance, the TV show, take or leave it, doesn't matter. So after that, you go with Episode 7, Force Awakens, Episode 8, Last Jedi, then you get the palate cleanser, The Mandalorian, and you wrap things up with Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. And that is it. That is a wrap. That is how I recommend you watch them. There's a few wrenches in there that were very difficult to place, but overall, I think that's the best. And I know there's a big gap between Episode 5 and Episode 6, but I think, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And it'll be more enjoyable once you get there. So hopefully you agree with me, or you don't. Any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram or at SuperDarioPeriodWorld. Remember, probably tomorrow, I will be doing my rankings of the best of all the Star Wars movies. I probably won't leave I'll leave the shows out, but definitely rankings of the movies with my kid brother. So as always, thank you for listening, and I'll see you again next time.